Hey, welcome to the Journey Together podcast with Josh and Anna, where we're talking about sex and intimacy today.
Yeah, we're also incorporating just being your spouse's best friend.
Yes, you need to be each other's biggest fan.
That's one of our marriage rules, actually.
Yeah, it really is because we know the importance of it. Man, I love knowing that you've got my back.
That you are my biggest fan and I am your biggest fan.
Yeah.
We have been married for almost 19 years this June.
Yes.
And right after we got married, about 4 months into it, on purpose, actually, got pregnant with our oldest son, Cademan. He'll be 18 this July.
Whoa.
And then we have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. Very full first 10 years of marriage.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Very full. A lot of fun. I remember when we hit year 10, our children's pastor at our church, we pastor Trailhead Church in Graham, North Carolina, but our children's pastor, Christian, she goes, "Do you feel like you've been married for 10 years? And I was like, yes, I own every one of those years. And it wasn't in a bad way. I know you're looking at me like, oh, geez. It was in a good way.
It was an awesome way. I love
Yeah,
it.
like I own these years.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Because we really hit a point where we made a decision at year 10 to grow our friendship to the next level because we knew it was going to help our intimacy with one another.
Yeah, and no, this isn't overnight. Intimacy isn't something just, no, I mean, it's like a journey. It's a real journey. It's a real process. And man, it's been fun. You learn to love, you learn to have all the intimacy of things. Now, keep in mind, there's a separation between sex and intimacy. Intimacy is layered of things. Sex is a portion of intimacy, and obviously there's a physical form involved in that. But intimacy in itself, man, there's so many layers to this that you develop. And so right out the gate, let me just give you, there's a lot of different ideas and definitions behind this, but those 4 types of intimacy, that first one is emotional intimacy. Where you have such a comfort of being able to share each other's feelings, the good, the bad, the ugly. You're able to be secure with one another, not to feel insecure with someone that you should have that level of intimacy with. There needs to be an intellectual intimacy, and that is a beautiful place where you can share ideas, and it may even come across as some of the dumbest ideas, but to know that you're like, that's hilarious.
That it's a safe place.
It's a safe place to experience opinions. And you may not see eye to eye, but hey, it's going to be a safe place where you don't just get shut down. And there's an intellectual intimacy with that. The third type of intimacy is sexual intimacy. That sexual intimacy is where you can engage in sensual and sexual activities, where you can touch one another and have a safety involved in that, a security involved in that, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's not always such a level of like it's just sex. No, there's other ways of touching. There's other ways of kissing, and we always call it a win with the more gross mom and dad that we get from our children. So like in the kitchen, she's cooking.
Yeah, we like to dance in the kitchen.
We like to dance to the salsa music.
Oh, gosh. Every
Not
time
true, by the way.
we dance in the kitchen, one of our kids wraps their arms around us.
And begins to dance with us.
Yeah, every single
doesn't
time.
Matter. Could be the oldest one.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I'm thankful that we have that type of affection in front of our children because it's healthy. It's good. We want that. We want that in our marriage.
We want our children to see a healthy, full-rounded, or a well-rounded marriage, and them to see a healthy intimacy with who their parents are. And a portion of that is to see that we're affectionate towards one another, and that I want them to hear, or I want to hear, and I want to hear them say, "Ooh, gross." And it's just us kissing.
Okay.
It's me holding mom on the couch.
Let me get real with some of this, because I know some of you're like, I've got little kids and they are touching me all day long and I'm over it by the time my husband gets home. I had 4 kids in 7 years. I get it. This is where you have those hard conversations about these things. And I had those moments where I looked at Josh and I was like, I have spit up all over me. I am gross. I need a moment to regroup. I love our kids, but it's been a lot.
Right.
And where there are seasons that are more challenging than others, that you grow through and you work through. And I think that's where having that emotional intimacy comes alongside of the physical intimacy, because then I realize I can tell you that you're not offended by it. We can work through it. But it's not always easy.
Right.
No, there's some tough days where you wake up and you go, oh my gosh, Lord, I need help right now because I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I want to have that type of affection with my spouse, but I'm wiped. I'm wiped out. I think that's where we're able to have that communication and knowing that those are seasons. You grow through it, you work through it.
Right. Yeah. And if you're nurturing these levels of intimacy, then you're going to continue to bond and move through the seasons you find yourself in. And you're going to have a closer knit relationship that when those hard days come, you don't take it personal. You don't make it like this boundary of like, oh, this is how they're going to be. Well, then I'm going to be like this or whatever. That's nonsense. You just throw all that out.
We've had those moments where we have taken it personal.
Right. And we learn and we push through it. Yeah.
You recognize, don't take it. We actually say that to each other. Don't take it personal. And you have to have that give and take where you are willing to work through those hard days and move forward.
Yeah. Now, the fourth type of intimacy, which I love, it's one of my favorites, is actually experiential. And that's when you two are experiencing things together, whether it be trips, adventures, whether it be just alone time, drinking coffee on the front porch, any type of activity. And honestly, even the intimacy with your family, having some people would have the idea it's just like date night, it's your couple date night. But having a game night with your kids, that in itself is an intimacy, to watch your loved one interact with your children. And I know women find that attractive in their husbands when they see their husbands loving on the children and participating in their day-to-day lives. So that's why I would encourage you not to just think that it's only when you get a date night. It's only when you're touching your spouse is that intimacy is found.
I mean, it makes you super hot when you're a good dad to your kids, okay? It really does. It makes you extra hot whenever you do all of the dishes. I'm just putting that out there too right now.
Sure.
Okay, just put that on the checklist.
All right.
Next level.
Next
level.
But you're meeting each other's needs. That is a part of intimacy. You're meeting each other's needs. You're coming in, you're saying, what can I do for you? Surprising and delighting, walking into the room and saying, hey, let me rub your feet. And it's not all about just some sexual driven idea. It's no, I want to meet the need and I want to pursue after. One of the words that Anna and I love is inflame. We want to inflame each other.
We're getting real biblical here, guys.
Yes.
But you do want to inflame your spouse. When I look at these 4 areas, the foundation behind this truly is becoming your spouse's best friend. That it is being their biggest fan. It is wanting and believing the best of them and for them. And it takes 100% from both parties in order for this to take place, where you recognize, emotionally, I need to be there for my spouse. And I need to do a better job at listening. Maybe that's something that you need to work on to help develop that emotional intimacy with your spouse. Did you need to listen? You need to ask more questions. Ask them how their day is.
Yeah.
Of whatever that might look like. It could be that when it comes to the physical side of this, that your planning is terrible and you're waiting until midnight to be intimate with your spouse, or you're just not planning at all. It's not in the forefront of your mind, so you're not thinking about it. You guys, it's time to get intentional with physical intimacy.
Yeah.
We realized with 4 little kids, we couldn't wait till midnight. Or someone was going to wake up every night. Someone's waking up when you have 4 little kids. It's just what it looks like. And we had to become more intentional with our times of intimacy and using wisdom of like, all right, we need to make sure that we do this and that we're not wiped out,
Right.
so we can enjoy what's going on. And I think a part of each one of these is having that intentionality of how you can help your spouse, or you can serve your spouse, or you can help your marriage grow, how you can pour and water your own grass.
Yeah. Yeah. I think taking an aggressive approach towards meeting the needs of each other is going to have a greater effect on your relationship of building trust, building a better communication, not dealing with poor communication, but having a better communication, because you are aggressively meeting each other's needs. And when you do that, it changes, man. It helps. And then it's not just sex is like just hanging over here, that it just happens occasionally or whatever the case may be. But sex is then brought into intimacy of all the different layers, and it's a more fulfilling time together. It's more exciting. It's more thrilling. It's all of that because there's a pulling back the curtain of just comfort, a layer of knowing.
You're with your best friend.
Right. And it's awesome. So I love what Erwin McManus writes in his book, Soul Cravings. And it says this: sex can be the most intimate and beautiful expression of love, but we are only lying to ourselves when we act as if sex is proof of love. Too many men demand sex as proof of love. Too many women have given sex in hopes of love. We live in a world of users where we abuse each other to dull the pain of a loneliness. Oh man, that's brutal. And then he writes, we all long for intimacy and physical contact. And that can appear as intimacy, but it's sad. It's not. It's not. It can appear as intimacy, but it's not. And what deeply resolves any type of craving that we have or a need-based relationship, it is intimacy, then sex. It's not sex, then intimacy. It's intimacy, all encompassing of what we were saying earlier with meeting each other on an intellectual side of things, on an experiential, emotional, and then the sexual intimacy, that touch and that comfort of being with one another. And that's what we should be longing for.
And who created intimacy? God created intimacy. And in Him created intimacy, He wants us to have that relationship with Him that will in turn help us to have an intimate relationship with our spouse.
Right.
Whenever I love God first and I put Him first over my life, then I am hearing His voice, that I am having this relationship with Him that will then help me in how I'm emotional with you. Mm-hmm. That will I can open my heart to you. That will then help me feel that you're a safe place, that I can trust you, that I can grow with you, that I can be intimate with you. In those hard times when you're going through tough stuff and maybe you're not in agreement with your spouse and intimacy seems so far away, when you have an intimate relationship with the Lord, then He makes the most challenging seasons seem easy, where He is glorified and He will get you through it in just the hardest of times, and you're thinking, only God could have done this. Or even if you're having a hard time being intimate because you just have no desire, God created intimacy for marriage, and He created it to be good and to be lasting. This is where you go to Him as your Heavenly Father in the name of Jesus, and you talk about it. You say, Lord, I need help. He'll give you wisdom. He'll stir it up. He can lead you to, even if there's something medically you need to do or whatever that path may look like. And He always has a strategic plan to help you to grow in these areas with your spouse. It comes from Him. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that we have to remember in our marriage is it all came from Him. It's His covenant. And it came from Him in the beginning. And the enemy is not happy. Satan is not happy with the marriage covenant. So he's constantly, he's constantly attacking each one of these areas to cause division and for you to actually enjoy your marriage. But we call that out for what it is. He has no seat at our table You know, he's not allowed to feast at the table with us. We're feasting at God's table, and we're making a decision to truly grow in the Lord and to grow together. And that's a willingness to work on these areas.
Yeah, for sure. So now moving and transitioning over into more talking about sex, you know, there's a healthy way to engage each other and to set expectations with one another of what you're wanting. You know, you got to ask yourselves, what is that healthy expectation of how often do you want to have sex? Is it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week? You know, for us, we've always encouraged couples to make it at least twice a week. We would encourage that. Some of you may have a difference of scheduling and of time and work and stuff, but we would encourage you to make that happen, to meet each other's needs together on that level is more often than none. So that's what
that
we
it's
say.
regular, that
Yes.
you are consistently having regular sex with your spouse.
Right.
And you're openly communicating what those needs are.
Yep.
Of what that looks like. And then in order to be regular, then that's where that intentionality comes in, where you're thinking, you look at your calendar, you know the days you're home, you know what you're doing, you're talking about it.
Yep.
We talked about the word inflame. We're not trying to be cheesy here, but it's really texting each other throughout the day, having fun with it. Ladies, get rid of your lingerie from 20 years ago. Go buy some new lingerie that makes you feel good. It's using wisdom of just feeling good about yourself, and being there for your spouse, that you have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you put that in the forefront of your mind, and you ask the Lord for help with it, it's not weird to talk to God about your sex life.
Right.
You should, and then He will help you to have a plan.
He created it.
Yeah, He'll help you have a plan for it to grow and feel good. I love Mark chapter 10, and it says in verse 6, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate." God has joined you together with your spouse. You made a choice to leave your parents, to come together, to have a marriage. I love how He uses the words joined and He uses the words unity, because He wants us to have that place of truly coming together, being one flesh, enjoying one another. And then I like that He put in there, don't let man come and separate what I've done. So you've got to guard and protect this at all costs.
Yeah.
And make a decision that you're in this together, with God being Lord, with Jesus being Lord over all. God is your Heavenly Father, that He is the one that you're looking to, and that you're going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that direction should be growth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love when I can talk to my friends. I have good, godly friends who would challenge me and ask me about my marriage. I've got a best friend who challenges me often just to ask questions of how am I doing, and keeping me accountable to my wife and asking those hard questions. And it's important because we know that there's sexual desires that we have, and they need to be fulfilled by our partners.
Yeah, by your spouse.
As your spouse, your husband and your wife. And that's what's so beautiful, because God intended this. We know the first thing that God said that wasn't good was for man to be alone. That it's important that we find that helpmate, that we're together, and that in those sexual desires that we have, we fulfill those, and with not just kinda, but with a desire, a longing after to help each other meet that need. And I think it's wonderful. So that's why I think, Anna and I've said it when we counsel other couples, that we talk openly about it, of it's important that you say what you like, what you don't like, to express those feelings and emotions with one another, and to always to change it up sometimes, and to do fun things. And it's exciting. And that's where I would tell you, like, don't let it dry up. You always hear that word, like,
If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
right. So
Right.
right, and so men, I've heard from close men who have had lower testosterone levels, and they've noticed that things have changed, and they went to the doctor and they went and got it checked out. Go to your doctor, set up a physical, and get it checked out, and find out what's going on, because you don't want that type of intimacy to be lost, because it's important as just
valuable.
as valuable just
Yes.
like the other ones are. So make it happen. Be intentional and seek after one another fervently.
And okay, a part of being intentional, because we understand the differences between men and women, and it's accepting those differences of how we're made and what this looks like. Josh is going to get me excited throughout the day by helping me, by some type of an act of service, by coming alongside of me so I'm not just overwhelmed with everything else going on. And that's a huge help. He enjoys physical touch. I know that. And when I come and touch him and love on him, bring him affection, that makes him so happy. This is where you begin to know each other, and you recognize, I want to serve you for you,
Right.
of who you are. Through the day, also for women, coming alongside of that, husbands, text your ladies. Tell them how good they look. Ask them how they're doing. That's where women are emotionally connected to having sex in such a way that when they feel safe and secure with what they can talk to you about and who they are, then they know you're a safe place. This truly is where you've got to become best friends.
Yeah.
That you love each other so much that you can sit down and you are each other's safe place, that you can talk through these things. And when Josh checks on me throughout the day, or I check on him, all that is doing is continually growing our intimacy. So then when we come together, it's great. It's great. So, and you feel secure. Women love security. Make your spouse feel secure. I also think with this of just growing your intimacy, if you've got kids, this is a tough one, y'all. It is hard to be intimate if you've got kids in your bed. Okay, there are some practical wisdom things here that you're like, well, we don't ever have sex. And we could be like, why? And you're like, well, our kids are in our bed every night. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's tough. And you're going to have to get a plan to get them on a routine that frees you up and that you and your spouse can get your marriage bed back.
Right. Marriage is spelled WORK. So you got to work at this. So there's some adjustments that need to be made. So don't get into this rut of like, it's just the way it is. No, you're going to have to pay attention to what needs to shift. And if you're having children sleeping in your bed at night, they are a hindrance to that sexual intimacy. And you need to work on figuring out a way to put your children in the other room. If you're dealing with this anxiety of I just can't have them in the other room. I don't feel safe or whatever it is. This is where you got to present that to the Lord and allow God to heal you from this so that your sexual intimacy doesn't fall apart.
One of the greatest gifts you're giving your kids is a healthy marriage.
Right.
And these are just practical things that will help you in the long run. A part of this is, of course, setting that time aside and becoming intentional. Like you said, having practical steps, going to the Lord with this, and really communicating with one another just how much you love each other. And you're making the most out of the time that you have. We have found with children, having 4 kids, lock your door, okay? If you've got a few minutes, make the most of that time. Don't just be a stick in the mud. And these are pep talks that I'm not trying to give you. These are pep talks that I've had to give me of, hey, wake up and have fun with your spouse right now. Wake up and be intentional of how you love him and make the most out of the time that you have. This is huge. This is how you really start to have that time together, and it makes a difference.
Right.
A part of doing this, I've got a few things that I've written down in my own notes of, so what can I do to show my spouse that I care? Right? That throughout the day, as I'm building this and building this intimacy, how can I show him that I care? How do I show my spouse respect? You know, you're more likely going to want to be intimate with your spouse when you show respect to one another and you have that honor for each other.
Yeah.
What are ways to serve my spouse? You guys, these are great questions. These are my personal notes. These are things that I've written to me. And then I've put, write 3 areas you need to work on. Choose to become a doer of the word and ask the Lord for help. Ask for forgiveness. Go to one another. It's a clean start. God makes all things new. At the top of this, making necessary adjustments to show servanthood to one another. This is my personal notes in my own marriage of, okay, Anna, what can you do for this intimacy to grow? Because you want it to grow and you want it to be God's best.
Right. You got to be intentional, period.
And be willing to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
You know, I know what we're saying isn't groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be. Don't overcomplicate this, okay? If you're not having sex with your spouse because you are walking in unforgiveness, you're wrong. You need to go before the Lord and ask for help. Go to your spouse.
Yeah, don't believe for one bit. And because I believe you're going to be shocked to discover that no matter how far gone you think it is, by presenting it before the Lord, how God can restore it and how he can create beauty from it. And you're going to have a testimony at the end of the day from it, where God's come in and just restored fully every layer of intimacy, including the sexual side of it.
And I don't want you to think that I'm harsh with this, of like, you're wrong. Listen, I know you've got a story behind it. And possibly a part of that is you all needing to go in and seek counsel, get help. I think I'm talking more of the day-to-day stuff, that you're just holding things against your spouse and you're using the lack of intimacy as a weapon. And that's not God's best.
Right.
This is where you married that person. God created intimacy for the marriage bed, and we need to wake up. God wants to awaken those desires in you. He wants to help you. I love what you just said. Nothing's too hard for God with this. Mm-hmm. And he will make beauty from ashes. And truly, that this can be just something far greater than you could have ever hoped for. And it'll be awesome.
Right. Yeah, you guys, you should know what you should be getting excited about what's around the corner. Meaning tonight, when you get home, or if it is tonight, stop listening to us. Go over to your spouse, kiss them, love them, tell them something that you appreciate about them. Give them a form of intimacy that's not just a physical aspect, though. Like, do something sweet, do an act of kindness, do something for them, and begin to work at your marriage. Do not weaponize sex. Do not use it as a tool to get something done. Do not use it in a way to say, you've got to do this or I'm going to do that. Don't do that. Like that you're missing out on a full encompassing or all encompassing intimacy with your spouse that will transcend every thought that you had, that it goes beyond just the skim surface of what you think marriage is. It goes deeper than that. So like, make it happen. Like, go out there and spend time with one another, the valuable time, and do life together, not separate. Do it together. And the experiential side of intimacy. Enjoy those things. Enjoy food together. Go right now and go take them to their favorite restaurant. Go home this evening. If you're listening to this, go home and go take them to their favorite restaurant. And just the entire time, it's not about you, it's about them. And just dote on them. Tell them about how much you love them and all the things you appreciate about them.
Flirt with them.
Yes. Make
Flirt.
it happen. And you're going to get a reward from it. Not just, when I mean the reward, it's just the notion of knowing, man, I've got my biggest fan my biggest hero. It's all of that knowing with you, beside you. That's the best thing you can do. So make it happen.
God wants to add the increase. He's
Yeah.
faithful.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we're cheering your marriage on. We really appreciate you guys joining us.
Yeah. Get out of the routine. Get out of the routine, the mundane routine. Start something new. Make it happen. Your marriage is not.
Hey, check out thejourneytogether.com for the blog.
Dead.
And we hope to see you guys
It's amazing.
next
You guys are
week.
awesome. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.